Good morning to all. So welcome to the another section of the online class. So we have the second module of the informatics which will be begin this module. So this module is regarding the introduction to the hardware. So in the last class we just go through the major topics in this module. So before going to the chapter itself, we have some major topics that we should focus on in this module. They are the input devices, then the output devices, and also basic components of a computer, which includes the hardware, basically the hardware components, and also the central processing units. So these are the major topics that we should focus on in this module. So with that, we go through the chapter, the module itself, which is second module of the informatics paper, which is the introduction to the hardware. So hardware, which is what is called as a kind of hardware. So all the physical components of a computer, together we can call it as a kind of hardware of a computer. So hardware means the external or the physical aspects of a computer. Then one of the major definitions for the hardware by Webster's dictionary is that the major items of equipment or their components used for a particular purpose. So the major items of equipment, here we have the computer. So all the major items which comes under the computer or the related to the computer, together we can call it as a hardware. Then also their components used for a particular purpose. For example, some kind of hardware, some kind of components is exclusively for some kind of purpose, particular purpose, a specific purpose. So it's regarding the definition to the hardware, in which all the physical components of a computer and also the major items of a equipment or their components used for a particular purpose. So that's regarding the just a simple definition to the hardware. So we already discussed regarding the two major categories of a computer. They are the hardware and software. So both these two topics, hardware and also software, they are regarded as a two important aspects or two important categories of a computer. And also a modern PC is made up of the multiple physical components of a computer hardware, upon which we can install an operating system and also multitude of software to perform the operator's desired functions. So this means that with the help of this kind of softwares, we can process all the kind of information and all the process data and all the kind of these activities with the help of the softwares. But in order to perform all these kind of actions, we should have this kind of basic hardware components. So the hardware means the basic components or the basic physical components of a computer. So that's regarding just as outline or the introduction to the hardware. And also we can call all the elements or all the components into different category. And also basic components of a computer consist of a case or the chassis of a computer. Then also the kind of all the components, which includes a display, then the keyboard, mouse, the power supply, and all the speakers, printers, and all this kind of components. So basically we can divide different parts of computers into 7 topics or 7 categories. So they are the motherboard, then the power supply, then the display unit, then the removable media devices, then the secondary storage, then the sound card and also the speaker, and also the other peripherals. So this which includes all the kind of external accessories which is used for in a computer. So that's regarding the basic or the different parts of a computer, and we will go through all these 7 topics in a very quick manner, in a very systematic manner. So in the textbook page number 58 onwards, we have this kind of divisions or the different parts of a computer. So the first point, the first topic is the motherboard. So the motherboard means it is the main component inside the case or the chassis. Then It is a large rectangular board with integrated circuitry that connects the rest of the parts of the computer, including the CPU, the RAM, the disk drives, which includes the CD, DVD, that kind of hard disk and all these kind of disk drives, as well as any peripherals connected via the ports of the expansion slots, and components which are directly attached to the motherboard includes the CPU, the chipsets, then the RAM, the BIOS, then the internal buses, then the external buses, or all these kind of control units. So all these kind, and also some kind of accessories, other peripherals. So these are the major important aspect of a motherboard. So the motherboard is the main component inside the case. So without a motherboard in a computer, we cannot function, we cannot proceed to the kind of activities which runs under in the CPU or the central processing unit. So the motherboard helps to connect in order to cooperate this kind of all these different parts of a computer, accessories, all the components into a common level of integrated circuitry boards, in which it helps to connect all these kind of components into a single kind of component. So that's regarding the motherboard. It is very important aspect of a computer, and the shape or the dimension of a motherboard is like a large rectangular board with integrated circuitry that connects the rest of the parts of the computer. So which includes all the kind of these disk drives, other peripherals, as well as the CPU itself, the RAM, and also some kind of accessories, etc. So that's regarding the definition to the motherboard. I repeat, it is a large rectangular board with integrated circuitry that connects the rest of the parts of the computer, including the CPU, the RAM, the disk drives, which includes the CD, DVD, hard disk, etc., and any other peripherals which is connected through the ports or the expansion slots. So that's regarding the definition of the motherboard. It is a major or the very important component of a computer. Then we just go through the major subdivisions of the motherboard, major components of a motherboard. So the first point regarding the components of a motherboard is the central processing unit. So what is the kind of the CPU or the central processing unit? So it performs most of the calculations which enables a computer to function, and also it is usually cooled by a heat sink and fan. So the a kind of processing unit or a kind of thing in the inside the motherboard, and it helps to perform most of the calculations which enables the computer to function. So to function a computer, the CPU is the most important aspect. So we can call the CPU as a inevitable part of a computer, and without the CPU or then the motherboard, we cannot properly function a computer in a very good manner. So CPU is a very important aspect of a computer, in which the CPU or the central processing unit that performs most of the calculations which enabled a computer to function, and it is cooled by this kind of some kind of heat sink or a fan which inside the case. So this is the outline of this motherboard, or the basic the feature of the motherboard is the that we discussed today is the desktop PC of a desktop PC. So in a desktop PC we have the CPU in a very like a rectangular box, or in a very different case, in which it includes inside it we have the motherboard which is connected in this case, and also it is a integrated circuitry board, and in that we have the RAM, the ROM, and also the kind of the disk drives, then the CPU, and all the kind of peripherals which is connected in the motherboard. So that's a very good elaborated explanation regarding the motherboard. So the central processing unit, CPU, is the major focusing topic that we should go through in the very detailed manner. So the second point regarding the component of a motherboard is the chipset. and this chipset mediates the communication between the CPU and the other components of the system, including the main memory. So the chipset helps to communicate or to mediate the communication between the CPU and the other components. So the central processing unit, which is the important aspect of a computer, and the chipset helps to communicate between the CPU and the all other components of the system, including the main memory. So the chipset and also the CPU is very related in a computer, in which the chipset and the CPU helps to function to in a computer in a very good manner. So the third component of the motherboard is the RAM, which is the random access memory. So the RAM is the main major memory of the computer, which stores all running processes or the applications and the current running OS. So the RAM helps to store all the running activities of a computer, all the running applications of the computer, and also the current running OS. So the RAM is regarded as the primary storage of a computer. So that's regarding the RAM. It is a random access memory, very important aspect of a computer. Then the next topic, the fourth component of the motherboard is the BIOS. So what is BIOS? The BIOS means the basic input-output system. So the term itself signifies that it helps to cooperate the input and output unit of a computer in a very good manner. So which means that it includes the boot firmware and also the power management. So the BIOS basically it is a system, a basic input-output system, which includes the boot firmware and also the power management. So the boot firmware means the kind of booting of the computer in order to run the operating system, in order to open the operating system of a computer. So the BIOS is the kind of the system, the basic input-output system, which includes the boot firmware and also the power management. So that's regarding the BIOS. So these are the very quick description regarding all these kind of topics. So we will discuss all these topics in a very detailed manner in the following topics. So the first point was regarding the central processing unit, which is the CPU. Then the second point was regarding the chipset. Then the third point was regarding the RAM. Then the fourth point was regarding the BIOS. And the fifth point is regarding the internal bus. So internal bus means internal connectors or all the ports of the internal side of this motherboard in the computer, and also all the kind of internal buses means it helps to connect the CPU to various internal components and to expansion cards for graphics and sound. For best example for the internal buses or the internal connectors is that we can extend our RAM of a computer or the storage or the hard disk of a computer by extending the another RAM or hard disk with the help of the connecting these kind of components in the motherboard itself. So this means that all the kind of connections or all the kind of expansions inside the computer, which comes under the topic the internal buses. So with the help of these internal connectors, we can expand the memory of the computer and also some basics like the graphics, the video cards, and etc. So that's regarding the internal buses. Then we have the last topic, last component of the motherboard, which is the external buses. So the external bus controllers, it helps to support the ports or the external peripherals. So for the best example for the external bus is that the USB port of a computer, in which we can externally connect a USB pen drive or any other device to the computer with the help of this external bus. So for the internal bus, we have the kind of the memory expansion inside the computer, especially inside the motherboard in internal connectors. And the external bus means the controllers which supports the ports for the external peripherals. So for the best example, in order to get a clear idea regarding this kind of connectors, is that for the external connectors we have the USB kind of connection. It is just one example for the external connection. And for the internal connection or the internal bus, we have the kind of RAM and also the memory expansion or the graphics sound advancement of this kind of advancement in the motherboard. So that's regarding the major components of the motherboard. So we have the 6 major important components of the motherboard, which includes the central processing unit, then the chipset, then the BIOS, then the RAM, and also then the internal and also the external connectors, buses of the motherboard. So that's regarding the first major topic of the hardware of the computer, which is the motherboard. So the second point is the power supply. So the first point regarding the different part of a computer was the motherboard. Then we have the second point, which is the power supply. So the power supply means the kind of power which is very essential to run the computer in a very good manner. So all computers have some sort of power supply, and this converts the supply voltage, which is the AC 110 voltage or the 220 volt, to different voltages such as DC 5 volt, 12 volt or the 3.3 volt, in order to in which they are needed inside the computer system by nearly every component inside the computer. So every component of the computer must need a kind of different kind of these kind of voltages. So some kind of devices need only the DC 5 volt, and some kind of devices may need the 12 volt DC. Then also some kind of very less power consuming devices, like they need only the 3.3 volt of power. So all these kind of power which is used in the components of the major components of the computer are the DC power. So in the CPU or in this case of the computer, with the help of this power supply unit, it converts this kind of AC to DC in a very good manner in order to supply the power into all the major components of the computer. Then these are needed inside the computer system by nearly every component inside the computer, and there will be a bunch of connectors coming off of the supply called the Molex connectors, and these Molex connectors comes from the power supply unit. So before that, the power supply unit of a computer, we can call it as a SMPS. So the SMPS provides the power supply to the motherboard and every aspects of the computer, and this with the help of the SMPS we can connect the powers into the motherboard, and from the motherboard we can connect to the internal and also the external peripherals in a very systematic manner. So that's the basics of the power supply, and this kind of connectors comes from the power supply unit is the Molex connectors, and these came in varying sizes meant for the different applications, such as a motherboard, usually the largest of the connectors, and also for the hard and optical drives, a bunch of medium sized connectors, as well as the floppy drive for the relatively small connector, and also for the video cards also these kinds of connectors are necessary. So this means that the connectors also have different in size in this according to their use. So the most important connector of the from the power supply is for the motherboard itself. It is the very large type of connector. Then medium sized connectors for this kind of memory devices. Then the small size, very small size connectors for the supply of this for the floppy drives or the buses in the motherboard, and all these small kind of devices. So that's regarding the different kind of power supply. So the SMPS is used in order to supply the power in which it converts the 220 watt or the 110 watt of AC to DC, in which it supplies the power by distributing according to their needs. So it includes the DC 5 volt, 12 volt, 3.3 volt, etc. So that's regarding the different kind of power supply, which comes under the topic different parts of the computer. So we have the third topic, which is the display. So the display devices includes, we can divide the display unit into two types of units. They are video display controller and also the display monitor. So basically we only focus on the topic the display monitor, in which we get the result or we get the presentation on the screen in the computer. So that's regarding the display monitor. And we have also the VDC, the video display controller, and it produces the output for the computer monitor, and also this will either to build into the motherboard or attached in its own separate slot, which is the PCI or the PCIe or this kind of AGP, in the form of the graphics card. So with the help of these video cards or the graphics card, these videos or the signals of for this display unit is converted or transmitted into a presentation, or in order to present in a very systematic manner. So that's regarding the video display controller, which may either be built into the motherboard itself and also may be attached to in its own separate slot. So the kind of this attachment or the attaching this kind of devices in the motherboard is the which comes under the topic the graphics cards and video cards. So that we will discuss in the later classes. So that's regarding the video display controller. So this controls the display unit in a very good manner. So then we have the major topic, which is the display monitor. So the display monitor includes the computer monitors and other display devices. So the CRT, LCD are the most important divisions of the display units, and now we have the LED too. So the LED also has its own advantage, in which it only consumes a less amount of power, and it is very user friendly. Also it is very good for our eyes. So it is very compact in size. So the LED is the most important addition to the display monitor. So in the textbook we have only the CRT and LCD, but we should focus on the topic LED screens too. So the LCDs are a more recent development and more gradually replacing the CRT as they become more affordable, and also LCDs, in addition to being either which is lighter, also use less energy and generate the less heat. And while we compare the LED screen with the LCD screen, LED screens are very user friendly, and also it only consumes less energy, and also it generates less amount of heat, and most importantly, the size consumed for the LED screen, while we compare to LCD screen, it is very less amount of size while we compare to LCD screen. So that's the major three divisions of the display monitors. One is the CRT, which is the cathode based on the cathode ray tube. Then the LCD, which is the liquid crystal display. Then the LED, which is the light emitting diode, based on the light emitting diode. So these are the basis of the three major display monitor of the computer. So that's regarding the display of the hardware of the computer. Then we have the fourth point, which is the removable media devices. So just go through the first 3 points. They are the motherboard, then the power supply, then the display, and we have the fourth point, which is the removable media devices. So the removable media devices includes all kind of plug-in and plug-out kind of hardware components, which includes the CD, DVD, then the USB kind of devices, which includes the keyboard, mouse, and also the pen drives, and all the kind of these hardware components, which comes under the topic the removable media devices. So the first one is the CD. CD means the compact disc and the most common type of removable media suitable for the music and data. And we can call the CDs is one of the most popular use addition of this kind of removable media devices. But now we commonly use this kind of flash drives or the pen drives to share or to store, and also to in order to play this kind of media files with the help of these pen drives. Then we have the CD-ROM drive. So this is the second important component of the removable media devices in a computer. So CD-ROM drive means a device used for reading data from a CD. So with the help of the CD-ROM drive, we can read the data. We can open the data of a CD in a computer. So it is the CD-ROM drive. Then we have the CD writer. So the CD-ROM drive and CD writer, basically now it comes with the both all the functions in a combined to a common kind of device, in which CD-RW, in which we can read and write. So basically it is in a different type of devices in which we can read the CD-ROM with the help of the CD-ROM drive, and we can write, we can produce the CD, a new CD with the help of the CD writer. So a CD writer is a device used for both reading and also writing data and to form a CD. So the CD writer is the most popular kind of device while we discuss the topic the CD, which is the compact disc. So that's the one CD writer. Then we have the DVD. So DVD means the digital versatile disc. So it is a popular type of removable media which is the same dimensions of a CD, but it stores up to 12 times as much information than a CD. So for a CD, about 700 MB is the basic size of a CD, whereas for the DVD it is up to 4.5 GB. So that's regarding the differences between a CD and DVD. We can store 12 times more data in a DVD. Then we have the DVD-ROM drive in order to run the DVD, in order to open the DVD. Then we have the DVD writer. So in order to write the DVD, we can use the DVD writer. Then we have the DVD-ROM drive, which is a kind of device or a drive which is used for rapid writing and reading of data, and it is a special type of DVD. So the DVD-ROM drive is most commonly used in the desktop computers, in the personal computers. Then we have the Blu-ray disc. So it is a high density optical disc format for data and high definition video. So the Blu-ray disc can store 70 times as much information as a CD. So we just discussed about the topic the DVD. Then the Blu-ray disc is this very advanced form of the DVD drives, in which we can store 70 times as much information as a CD, and it can carry high density optical disc format for data and also for the high definition videos. So that's regarding the Blu-ray disc. Then the Blu-ray disc ROM drive, then the Blu-ray disc writer, and also we have the HD DVD. So it is a discontinued competitor of the Blu-ray format, HD DVD. So we have another important aspect of the this kind of removable disc. It is the floppy disk. So it is also an outdated storage device consisting of a thin disk of a flexible magnetic storage medium. Then we have the most commonly used that we already used in our day-to-day life. They are the USB flash drives. So a flash memory data storage device which is integrated with the USB interface, typically small, lightweight, also removable and also rewritable, and also the capacities may vary from the hundreds of megabytes and also to tens of gigabytes, to surpassing the great expanse of Blu-ray disc. So the basic important use of the USB flash drive is that we can store up to kind of millions of storage things in a USB device than a kind of common CD. So basically the size of the USB drives comes from the 4 GB, then the 8 GB, 16 GB, 32 GB, then 64 GB, then 128, and also for much rather we can use the kind of hard disk devices also, external hard disk devices also. So the basic use of the USB flash drive is that it can carry, which is very in a removable condition, it can carry, and also it is very useful to rewrite the information stored in the USB device, and also it is very lightweight in its size. So the USB flash drive is one of the most important storage devices of a computer. Then the tape drive, it is also a kind of device that reads and writes the data on a magnetic tape used for the long-term storage and backups. So that also comes under the topic, which is the removable media devices. So the removable media devices, we can divide these removable media devices into different categories, which include the CDs, then the DVD, then the kind of Blu-ray disc, then the floppy disk, also the HD DVD, which is also HD DVD and floppy disk are outdated kind of disk format, then the USB flash drive, and also the tape drive. So these are the most commonly used kind of the removable media devices in a computer. So that's regarding the fourth major topic of the different parts of a computer. So we discussed about the motherboard, then the power supply, then the display, and also then the removable media devices. So the fifth point of the different parts of a computer is the secondary storage. So we just discussed about the basic components, the basic important components of the computer. They are the motherboard, power supply, display, then the removable media devices. Then we have the most important aspect of the computer, which is the secondary storage. So we can divide the secondary storage into basically two types of devices. They are hard disk and also solid state drive, in which we most commonly use this kind of hard disk in order to store the data in a computer. So hard disk is categorized as the secondary data storage device, in which the primary storage devices like the RAM, ROM, etc. So we have the secondary storage device, which means that we can store a huge amount of data in the secondary storage devices. So the hardware that keeps data inside the computer for later use and remains persistent even when the computer has no power. So that's the major difference between the primary devices and the secondary devices of the storage. So the secondary storage devices can store, and also it can carry the data without the power, without the power supply. So it is very important aspect of the secondary storage devices. So I repeat the definition of the secondary storage devices. So the hardware that keep the data inside the computer for later use and remains persistent even when the computer has no power. So we can carry the data without when there is no power in the computer. So it is a very safe side of the hard disk as the secondary storage devices. So we have the hard disk, which is the most commonly used kind of these secondary storage devices. So the first point regarding hard disk is that it is for the medium term storage of data. To store the data, we can use the kind of hard disk. And also the second point regarding hard disk is that we can store the much form of this kind of data, and also we can install the kind of softwares and also the operating system in the hard disk, in which we can partition, we can divide the hard disk into different categories, in which maybe the basic of this computer, in which the first drive may be recognized as the primary storage of data, in which in that drive we can install the operating system, and also the remaining part of this disk drive, we can store our data, our media files, our information, and all other kind of forms of data in a very systematic manner. So that's regarding the hard disk. So the hard disk may vary in its storage size. So from 128 GB to 1 TB or 2 TB, it can carry much information, lot of data in a single hard disk. And also we can purchase, kind of this external hard disk in order to store additional data to that kind of external hard disk. So that's regarding the secondary storage devices. Then the solid state drive, also a common kind of hard disk, in which it is a device similar to hard disk but containing no moving parts and also stores data in a digital format. So that's a different kind of hard disk type of disk, in which it is commonly known by the name solid state drive, in which a device which is similar to hard disk but it containing no moving parts and stores data in a digital format. So that's the basic difference between a commonly used hard disk and a solid state drive. So that's regarding the fifth point of the different parts of a computer, which is the secondary storage. Now we have the two more topics in this category, which is the sound card and speaker, and also the other peripherals. So we will discuss the second last point, which is the sound card and speaker in this class, and we will discuss the next topic, the last topic of this category, in the next class. So the sound card and speaker, which is the sixth point of these different parts of a computer, in which it enables the computer to output the sound into the audio devices as well as accept the input from the microphone. And also most modern computers have sound cards built in to the motherboard, and also though it is common for a user to install a separate sound card as an upgrade. And also most sound cards, either built-in or added, have surround sound capabilities. And also speakers include internal or the external speakers and headphones. So all the kind of speakers, audio devices which comes under this topic, which is the sound card and speaker. So this the major intention of the sound card or speaker is to get the output of the audio and also from the media sources in a very good manner. So some kind of sound cards will be already installed in the motherboard itself, and we can externally, and also we can use the kind of sound cards in a separate sound card as an upgrade in a computer. And also most of the sound cards, either built-in or added, have the kind of surround sound capabilities. So it ranges from the 2.1 to 5.1 and also to a very good extent. So this means that we can get a clear or the surround sound kind of sound from the output of the computer software, computer capabilities. According to the computer capability, we can add on this kind of audio devices. So speakers may include the internal or the external speakers and headphones. So that's regarding the second last point of the different parts of the computer. And we have one more topic, which is the other peripherals, which includes the pointing devices, the input devices, then the audio input output devices, modem, scanner, all these topics. So that we will discuss in the next class. So in this class we just began the chapter, which is the introduction to the hardware. First we discussed about the definition to the hardware, in which it is the all the physical components of a computer, the major the items of a equipment or their components used for a particular purpose. So that's regarding the definition of the hardware. Then we discussed about the different parts of the computer, which includes the motherboard, power supply, display, then the removable media devices, then the secondary storage, then the sound card and speaker, and also we have the other peripherals that we will discuss in the next class. So that's regarding the first part of this module second of the informatics, which is the introduction to the hardware. So this chapter is exclusively regarding the hardware components in a very detailed manner, which includes all the this kind of components, input devices, output devices, then the modems, CPU, processor types, all these kind of topics. So we discuss in the later classes all these topics. So that's regarding today's class. So that's for today. Thank you. Happy learning.